Brandon here, and today I've got a sidekick, Annika. We are in search of a town that you're not going to find on any map. In fact, the town is normally submerged. So just over Swan Mountain from our house is Lake Dillon Reservoir. And when it was filled, it covered several towns, including the town of Dickey. And so Dickey, when the water levels are low enough, sometimes the remnants, you can actually walk out into the mud flats and see them. And we drove over to Breckenridge yesterday and we noticed that the water levels were low, and so we are going to go check it out. Established in the early 1880s, Dickey was a coal and water top-off station for several of the railways that were up here. There was the Denver and Rio Grande, which actually ran that direction back up towards Leadville. And then there was also the Denver South and Pacific railways that came up over Boreas Pass down through this valley. And there were a couple of different spurs actually that ran off towards the old town of Dillon that's down at the bottom of the reservoir over there, and then back over that direction over Swan Mountain towards Keystone. As the narrow gauge railways were coming over the passes, Dickey was the top-off station where they would come in to take on more coal and more water. So we actually found it. You can see some of the foundation buildings that are out here. If you were here in the late 1800s and early 1900s, you would have seen two major structures. One of them would have been an elevated coal loading facility, and then you would have seen a massive water tank. I think it was 47,500 gallons, but there would have been a lot of other buildings here too. You would have had a couple of homes for some of the permanent residents that were up here with their families, and then you would have had, storage facilities and other facilities for the railway. So the last train actually came through Dickey in 1937. And after that, for the next 20 years or so, a lot of the population left. There were still a handful of people that lived here in the 50s and 60s, but in 1963, when the reservoir was completed, a lot of towns and little areas like Dickey, like Old Town Dillon, were covered by water. So the reservoir is one of the main water sources for the Front Range in Denver. And it's an amazing place to do boating and paddle boarding, but there's some of that history that's still underneath there, and I think we were pretty lucky to get out here today and actually see some of it. Thanks for tagging along today. If you're interested, we'll be continuing to explore Summit, high country in Colorado, for other kind of interesting historical or weird stuff. So thanks, later.